Good afternoon, Your Highnesses, Excellencies and Dignitaries and members of the ABLF network and all of our wonderful guests here with us today. My name is Resham Katecha. I'm a strategy and policy specialist and I am delighted to be here with you at the ABLF. We've got a really fascinating guest with us for this session. I'm really delighted to introduce His Excellency Marwan bin Jassim Al Sarkal, who is considered one of the key leaders in Sharjah's tourism industry growth. He was the CEO of the Sharjah Investment and Development Authority called Shurooq from 2009 until mid-2018, at which point he became the executive chairman under an Emirate decree by His Highness the ruler of Sharjah. Al Sarkal has led every major enhancement Shurooq has made since inception and is one of the longest tenured people at the authority. So Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a privilege to have this opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you, Resham. It's always great to meet people, to talk about the stories and to learn from each other.
Definitely. Well, I'm sure we'll all be learning lots from you. Why don't you start by telling us, in your opinion, what makes Sharjah unique, both in terms of the Emirates and globally?
So first of all, we'd like to thank the ABLF for giving us this opportunity to talk about Sharjah, to talk about what's special about Sharjah, to talk about the Sharjah Investment and Development Authority and what is our goals and objectives. So first of all, we'll talk about Sharjah. As everyone knows, it's one of the 7 emirates that creates the United Arab Emirates. It has a focus on culture, on education. It has a focus currently on creating a unique place for students coming from abroad, but also focusing to create this educational hub. Sharjah is also known as the small and medium-sized business hub, where a lot of entrepreneurs would actually choose Sharjah because of its industrial focus. So today, Sharjah has more than 21 industrial areas, 6 free zones, one of the only emirates that actually sits on 2 seas, the Arabian Sea and the Arabian Gulf. It has 9 different cities, whereas some of them sits on the Arabian Sea, the others would actually be on the Arabian Gulf. Sharjah also has a focus on tourism, focusing on creating more than 16 museums around the Emirate of Sharjah. It is diversified when it comes to the mountains, sand dunes, and a very civilized city. And I would say it is one of those emirates that created a vision to diversify its economy. As you know, we are not an oil-based economy, so we had a huge focus on transportation, on logistics, on aviation. And one of those days, Sharjah had a huge focus on cargo, that it managed to get Lufthansa to create its biggest hub out of Germany, located in Sharjah. Today, the focus of Sharjah is a lot to do with research and technology and development, that it created a special free zone for it. And the focus of Sharjah is to create new developments that Shurooq is actually spearheading with the Sharjah Sustainable City development, with the Mariam Island development, and complementing what the United Arab Emirates doing in the tourism sector. Within our mandate as Sharjah Investment and Development Authority, we had a focus on one thing, which is attracting foreign investors to come and invest in the Emirate of Sharjah, and also developing projects and creating joint ventures. The main objective for us in foreign direct investments is that we created an FDI office. Then we created a Sharjah Investor Center called Saeed, located here in Al-Qasbah, that a whole one-stop shop happens within one office, that an investor comes and finalize everything within a couple of minutes. We have a focus on attracting investment in sustainability and environment. We have a focus on attracting investment into healthcare. We have a focus on attracting investments into tourism and logistics. Logistics is important because we have 3 seaports and we have an airport. Air Arabia, a homegrown airline that is listed in the Dubai market, is actually one of the most important aviation players in the region, being the first low-cost carrier in the region that travels all around the region, all the way to Europe even. So in Sharjah, we talk about creating stars of the future, and it's a place where entrepreneurs is actually choosing them. So we created a center called Sharjah Entrepreneurship Center under the name of Sharjah, which actually promotes entrepreneurs to set up and start from Sharjah.
You've given so much context there, Your Excellency. Thank you so much. I think that's really helped people understand how unique Sharjah and the work of Shurooq is. So I want to pick up on a point you talked about, economic diversification and the facilitation of foreign investment specifically in the Emirate. So what steps are you taking or have you taken to really facilitate that foreign investment?
So, as you know, the United Arab Emirates is one of the most important places in the region to attract foreign investments. A lot of regulations that have happened within the Ministry of Economy that makes it easier for us to attract investments. One of them, the law that has changed recently between the 51-49% for the limited liability companies, is going to have a great impact starting from this year. The Golden Visa is another attraction for investors to come and invest here. And as you know, within the past 50 years of the United Arab Emirates, the 5149 was really doing well. The free zone were created to overcome the 5149, but today with the new law, this will attract more foreign investors to come to the United Arab Emirates. So each emirate would look at it from a point of view that makes it unique. So for example, in Sharjah, we're trying to attract investments into the healthcare industry. We're trying to attract investment into the media industry, and the new law makes it easier for us. But also the citizenship law that was created also within the United Arab Emirates makes it much more appealing for investors to come and invest here. What we've noticed that since the 70s, Sharjah has been a major player in attracting investors from the Arab world, but also from the Indian subcontinent. We've seen investors coming from UK primarily and Germany, setting up factories here, setting up offices here, opening schools here. That's what makes Sharjah so unique. And so how we want to be diversified is that each emirate had a focus on each sector. In Sharjah, we have a focus on environment. So today we have the biggest recycling plant in the Middle East, managed by a company called BIA. We have the biggest education hub as the Sharjah University City is. And we are trying, for the time being, focusing on research. We want to become the research hub of the Arab world within the Research and Technology and Innovation Park in Sharjah. So how diversified we need to be is how today cities are competing with each other rather than countries are competing with each other. So countries are creating regulations and laws to ease off attracting investments. And I think today we can say that the United Arab Emirates is one of the most appealing locations for foreign investors to come and invest in.
So you talked about your work around, some of your work around sustainability and your work around working with other countries, but I want to pick up on one of your key projects. You've got an archaeological and ecotourism project that actually offers adventure options, educational options, and gives people the chance to discover the treasures of the Stone Age settlement. How are you conceptualizing these projects, and how does that work in terms of implementation, and how are they received by locals?
So that's an excellent question. One of the important things that we noticed that is tourism is a very big market, but how can you focus on creating differentiation between you and the others? So what we noticed in an area called Mleha in the central zone of Sharjah, we found that we have history that goes back to the Paleolithic age, to the Neolithic age, to the Bronze Age, to the Steel Age, all the way to the pre-Islamic age, that we created the Mleha Archaeological Center, where we basically promote the history of man moving from Africa to Asia. We're talking about 130,000 years before present, and then working with archaeologists to create this appealing story about the region, and building on that is the content that you have with that. So that's how we differentiate our tourism when it comes to archaeological tourism, but also we have heritage tourism. In the heart of Sharjah, for example, we have this magnificent development that was developed in retaining Sharjah's modern history that goes to 1,500 years. So we created the Chedi Al Bayt Hotel. We created re-stitched the old souks that are in Sharjah, like Souk Al-Arsa, Souk Al-Shanasiyya, Souk Sagar, and then we went all the way to the urban fabric of the first CBD in Sharjah, and reinvented that area by redesigning that master plan. Today, the heart of Sharjah is one of the most fascinating areas. You have 9 museums within that that
Wow.
vicinity. And it's in the creek in the creek of Sharjah, where it used to be the life of Sharjah. But then when we talk about sustainability, we're also looking at the future. So we created this project that's called Sharjah Sustainable City, where we want to promote sustainability with the mindset of people that you live sustainable. You stay in a house, that you get your organic farms, you have a cycling route, you have a jogging track, you have a community mall, mobility is done through autonomous cars, greenery is there. So you think about sustainability as a lifestyle rather than a tick of a box, and that's what we're trying to do. So we ventured with a company called Diamond Developers in Sharjah and came up with this concept that's actually duplicated now in different cities around the globe. So sustainability is very important. We are also have invested in water recycling plants, or even with a joint venture from Belgium, a company called B6, and we are recycling water. That water is then reused for different purposes. We're also using the sludge for the cement factory to reduce the carbon footprint and carbon emissions. We're also working very closely with Sharjah, a company which is responsible of recycling. So they are into recycling waste, segregating waste, and then producing energy from that waste. So we're so advanced. BIA is today one of the companies that were created in Sharjah that is venturing into Saudi Arabia and Egypt. So we're so proud to say that the story of sustainability is embedded within the DNA of the United Arab Emirates, as you see with Masdar, as you see with Shams project. We see solar panels implemented all around, and this is the whole story of the United Arab Emirates. Its sustainability is key in our projects that we develop within the Emirate of Sharjah.
And it's so wonderful. You've got this real focus on sustainability. I love what you say. It's not just a tick box exercise. It's actually a way of life. And you're combining that with a huge focus on education and creating spaces where people can actually access these resources. So I particularly love your House of Wisdom. So can you tell us a bit about that, how you created that, how you're spreading the word and how people are utilizing that?
Yeah, this is another fascinating thing that Sharjah has won, being the World Book Capital by UNESCO in 2019. To celebrate that, Sharjah has been doing a lot when it comes to education, but also from a point of view from publishing, supporting publishers, libraries. So when Sharjah was crowned to be the capital, the World Book Capital, we created this magnificent building that is designed by Fosters and Partners that we wanted to reinvent how a library should look like. So it's a space, it's a place where you can work, you can research, you have digital books, and you have physical books, you have meeting spaces, you have a coffee shop, you have a restaurant, you have an exhibition area. You have a space where you want to go. You don't have to go, but you want to go there. And when you go there, you love staying there because the design of the place has always natural lighting. It is very simple, but creates privacy for you if you need that privacy. You have espresso book machine where you can print a book within 5 minutes. You have a Fab Lab. Yeah, this machine is one of very few around the world where you can actually get a digital book and then print it within 5 minutes. And then you have this magnificent Fab Lab where you can actually come and experiment things. But then you can attend talks and you can attend the book signing. And when the weather is beautiful, you can enjoy the nice gardens around that. And then when you go out in the garden, you'll find this huge sculpture that is designed by Jerry Judah, another British sculpturist that created a very nice scroll sculpture in that vicinity. And all of that is located next to the university city, where you have the Sharjah, American University of Sharjah, the Sharjah University, the Police Academy, the medical school, the HCT, Higher Colleges of Technology, and all within that vicinity. And I think keeping in mind that Sheikh Abdur, Her Excellency, the daughter of His Highness Dr. Sheikh Sultan, is also the president of the EPA, the publishing association, the International Publishing Association, which makes it a special thing for us to have a woman in that position in an international organization. So I think by focusing on education, what His Highness had done in the past gave a very good outcome to Sharjah with what we see today. the House of Wisdom, and I encourage everyone to come and visit the House of Wisdom to see how fascinating this building looks at during the day and also during the night.
Definitely top of my list now, Your Excellency. And so I want to ask you, you've outlined projects from archaeology to sustainability to education, you've got AI and tech, you kind of covered the whole breadth. So of all the projects undertaken by Shurooq, which was the most challenging and why?
The most challenging, what I would say, the most interesting ones is that we try to move from one area to another area. So we started in Sharjah with Al Majaz waterfront, creating this dining destination. Then we went all the way to heart of Sharjah to create that focus on heritage and culture. Then we went out of Sharjah to go to the central zone where we focused on archaeology with the Mleha. And then we went all the way to the Indian Ocean side or the Arabian Sea and focused on creating a waterfront development in Khorfakan, but also looking at something that's so unique, focusing on ecotourism by opening the Kingfisher retreat that is managed by MISC, which is like tented lodge in the middle of a mangrove site and focusing on environment. And so each one of those was so unique. So when we look at the tourism sector, it's about reinventing hospitality by creating lodges or retreats and recreating the hospitality by opening the Chedi in Sharjah, which is taking historical houses and transforming them into a boutique hotel. And then going all the way towards focusing on entertainment by opening Al Muntaza water park, and then returning back to the roots of education with the House of Wisdom. This transformation makes our team so advanced and so open, and that every idea is a great idea to develop. I think the most challenging for us, I would say, was the House of Wisdom, because it's dealing with an international architect, but then you have an international recognition here, and education is not an easy topic to focus on. You have education is a huge topic, but also creating and reinventing a library was something that we thought that's going to be so challenging, but creating that fit of it made it so different. So today, if you go to the House of Wisdom, you have most of the books are digital, so you can access them through your app. But you can also rent a book through the digital format, or you can actually go there and rent a real physical book. So I think that formula, each project has its own challenges, but I think the most exciting one is the diversity that we created for Shurooq portfolio.
And of course, I can't let this session end without me talking about how the pandemic impacted the projects that you've undertaken. So how did the pandemic impact you? What did you have to change, and has that changed the projects that you think you'll be able to deliver going forward?
The COVID for us came with its challenges, but also came with magnificent opportunities. For us, I would say that we were affected dramatically by the closure. When everything was closed, the whole economies were actually put on hold. But the unique thing about it is that most of our projects, if not all, are very unique in the way of how big they are. So, for example, if you go to any of our hotels, you can go to Al Faya retreat and you have 5 rooms only. So it is an ideal location for COVID rules and regulations. Only one family that would actually stay in the whole retreat. If you go to the Kingfisher retreat, basically you have 20 tents in a huge area, which is a protected site. So we were doing really well during those times of lockdowns, of distancing. So we were not really affected in a negative way. However, other locations like water parks, for example, were dramatically affected. We didn't want to encourage people to be in areas where they were busy, shoulders by shoulders. We were encouraging people to stay in ground. It accelerated our digital content in a way that we are moving towards digital. Things that we hadn't planned to do within a couple of years has been done. And I think this is something that we are so excited about it. The other thing is remote working. We always believed in remote working, but I don't think we all of us had the courage to do remote working, except when the pandemic came, and then we accepted it and we ended up doing as good as we used to do. And I think With COVID, we always see the positive part and not only the negative part of it. And I think those opportunities made us much better, much dynamic in changes that were implemented.
Well, Your Excellency, that answer has just brought me to the part where I get to introduce a brilliant and talented young student, Anam Fatima, from the American University of Sharjah. And she has, I think, a very relevant question to ask you following on from that answer.
Sure.
Good afternoon. My name is Anam Fatima, and I'm pursuing a Bachelor's of Science in Finance with double minors in Data Science and Economics. Your Excellency, I am exceptionally honored to be conversing with you. Speaking of which, Shurooq is leading the continued transformation and economic diversification of Sharjah. And a major defining feature of that quest is identifying new investment opportunities. What key factors would you consider when identifying such opportunities?
Thank you, and nice to hear that we have students from the Sharjah American University of Sharjah. I'm so proud about those students that's been excelling, promoting Sharjah wherever they go, whether they're continuing their education locally or internationally. So very nice to have you with us here. When we look at projects, we don't look only at the ROI. We look at what is the impact that we are going to have. So during the pandemic, for example, we noticed that food is one of the missed opportunity, and with technology, this is a sector that can evolve dramatically. So we had a focus on creating an investment approach on vertical farming, agriculture, going to tandem cooling, and looking at not only the ROI, because the ROI might dismiss you. Importing food might be cheaper, but with COVID, nothing was easy at that time. And if we created a plan that we would like to be sustainable, even if we're talking about 10% sustainability in our approach, then we are at least reaching there. So what we said is that we're going to focus on agriculture. That's the future. It's about vertical farming. It's about, as they say, fork to table within hours. You don't need to ship, no carbon footprint, no carbon emissions. And we're into it. We found that there is a huge excitement. A lot of companies, whether they're into technology, whether they're into agriculture, it became an exciting topic when you talk about agri-tech, as they say it today. And there is always someone that would push you. And today we have a minister of food security in the UAE that is pushing this file. And I believe this is one of the most important things is don't look always at the ROI. Look at what is the impact you're going to have if this managed to happen. And the same goes to mobility, for example. If we look at mobility at the beginning with e-mobility, people would say, you're wasting your time. Today, after 10 years down the line for Tesla, everybody is moving towards e-mobility to the level that governments set regulations that e-mobility is the future, the only way forward. And I think for us, as investment and development agencies, we're here to take it one step further ahead when a normal investor might be hesitant about it.
Thank you for your extremely constructive and insightful response, Your Excellency. I will most certainly hold on to your advice until the foreseeable future. And on that note, thank you, ABLF, for having me over.
Thank you so much for that brilliant question, Anam, and good luck with the rest of your studies. So, Your Excellency, just in the 5 minutes we have left, what measures do businesses need to take to ensure the development of a more flexible economic model that can sustain future shocks?
I think what is important is to create a balance. A balanced approach is always important. We always say that we have to be prepared for the worst, but I don't think anyone was prepared for something like like what happened to us in the past year and a half, I would say. I think you have to have this dynamic mindset that you are there, prepared, ready for anything, and prepared with your mindset rather than prepared with your actions. And I think you have to have an open way of thinking that everything is possible. Also creating a diverse environment within your organization, creating a way of that everything is acceptable till it shows that it is not successful. And I think this mindset makes you venture into different opportunities, going and investing into different sectors, trying here. You might not succeed in everything, but at least creating this environment that you will always be able to succeed will make you always in a different level than others. I mean, in the past decade, since I've started with Shurooq here, founding Shurooq, we always set in a principle that we will look into different sector every now and then. And we will always try to succeed in each sector, try to succeed, work very hard in achieving that. And everywhere we find that there is an opportunity, we'll make sure that we'll jump into it. So we went and tried to venture into healthcare, and we're still looking at the best opportunity, but we're not going mainstream. We're trying to diversify. So if it's healthcare, it's about creating a center, for example, for obesity, cleansing center, not trying to do whatever hospitals are doing here, but trying to complement what they're doing. So if we're into agriculture, not the mainstream farm going to do vertical technology. If we're into real estate, we look at what will differentiate it. So it's a sustainable real estate development. If it's about tourism, we go to either ecotourism, heritage tourism, archaeological tourism. We don't go mainstream. If we're going to do theme parks, well, it's going to be so small that it's going to be sustainable even if we have 500 people visiting it. And by that, you differentiate your portfolio from what is happening. And we always play as a catalyst. We don't try to overtake the market. We don't want to be the biggest real estate developer. We're only a catalyst. We encourage investors to come and invest in Sharjah. We also create joint ventures. So we are the ones who actually got Careem and Uber to Sharjah. And this is one of the investment that we went into mobility. We're not the only ones, but we are the first ones that said, this is the way forward. Taxis, yes, they will always stay, but people want one level between a private limousine and a taxi, which is Uber and Careem. And so we keep on trying every now and then about different sectors. Today we have 8 restaurants within our portfolio, but we only did it because we felt that this sector is a missed opportunity for a lot of investors in Sharjah. But our main objective is attracting investments and developing projects within Sharjah Emirate.
And I guess finally, I'm going to squeeze one in the last 1 minute we have. What do the next 12 months look like for you? What are your ambitions? What are your goals?
First of all, it's so exciting. We have many projects we're developing. We're developing, as you know, a huge safari in Sharjah managed by the Environmental Protection and Agency Authority. We are developing the resort part of it. So Shurooq is going to come up with a nice resort that is managed by an international operator that will overlook this beautiful setup of that safari where you'll see the rhinos, you'll see the giraffes. So we're so excited about that. That's going to be the biggest safari out of Africa. And we are actually excited that we're developing hotels in Khorfakan. Khorfakan is one of these cities that sits on the Arabian Sea or Indian Ocean side, where you have mountains, so beautiful scuba diving locations to visit. So we're creating a hillside mountain retreat. And this is made from wood. So we're getting the wooden cabins all the way from Finland, fixing them here on the mountains. So we're looking at sustainability in that approach. And then we're going to open a water park in Khorfakan. So that will cover the east coast part of UAE. We're also expanding our projects with the Kalba. As we know, we have the Kingfisher retreat, which is a very nice ecotourism retreat where you stay in a tent, luxury tent. So we're expanding that to the double amount. So we have 20 tents today. We'll have another 20 tents extra. And we're opening a shopping mall, a lifestyle mall in Kalba within a couple of months down the line. We're so excited also that we have handed over recently the units in Mariam Island, a real estate development that sits in the city center of Sharjah, overlooking the two waterfronts of Al Khan, located closer to Dubai. So we're excited. We're into vertical farming. We're into mobility. We're into healthcare. So the coming 12 months are going to be just so busy for us as they will always have been.
It sounds it just as well. You're so energetic, Your Excellency, because I'm tired just listening to that list. But thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for all your insights and your information on all the work you're doing. It's been a real privilege speaking with you. If you've enjoyed the session, if you've got thoughts, questions, comments, please do post on the live social media wall with the hashtag ABLFcity. And remember that if you missed a part of this session or any other session from today or previous ABLF conclaves, you can come back right here after the end of today and view it on demand anytime that you want. So thank you so much, Your Excellency, and thank you to our audience for joining us today. Remember that we are back every month featuring global leaders in powerful conversations.
Thank you, Rishan.
My pleasure.